I wear the same thing every day. So if you asked our staff, I'm not as fashionable as this guy. You know what I mean? So literally, I wear the same thing every day. So after the season, yes, yes, the hat doesn't. So I don't have time for a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. You already knew the answer. It's all the same. I don't know. It's nothing other than that's who I am. So probably no. Go ahead, Randy.
Are we now ready?
Yes, please.
What would an offense look like with Sama and Eli on the field at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably, we know that's 20 personnel, so yeah, I don't know what that would look like. Obviously, we'll continue to evolve as those guys continue to evolve with us, but, both those guys are playing really good football right now for us.
Did you not do something like that back in the dark ages with Kene?
Kene and Brees
and
yes. David. Yeah, at times we've done some 21 personnel or 20 personnel stuff, yeah.
Is that under consideration? But
I think everything as we continue to evolve is under consideration for sure. And, especially as those two continue to play good football, and obviously Cartavius played really well, and he's kind of worked himself back from injury. So, you got so many of those guys playing good football. I think you're constantly trying to, match your personnel and try to find out the best matchups for you in the football game. But certainly having those guys is always under consideration on the field.
What's allowed them to be such good playmakers in open space? Is it you answer the question.
Yeah, I think both those guys, the one thing those two have is they've got elite speed and they've got the ability to really run. And, I think as the evolution of their being, Eli being comfortable and kind of getting back to full strength, and obviously Cartavius growing, or Abu growing each week, I feel both of those guys, feel a lot more confident too to be able to use their speed in space. So I just think you see those guys growing by the week right now, and obviously that's big, but they can really run, and it showed up at times on Saturday because that group we played last Saturday could really run.
Coach, you get Jake Remsburg back this Saturday. What's the feeling to finally get him eligible?
Yeah, I just think, obviously we all think the world of Jake, and, he's been such a great senior human in our football program over the test of time and has overcome multiple obstacles. Every injury in the book during his career, and then obviously the situation that happened this past spring. But Jake's handled everything like first class, and he's always been resilient and tough, and so just to get somebody with his veteranness back in our football program, and he's been with us obviously over the course of the last 6-7 weeks, but just back and practicing and kind of intentful where he can help us in the football game. We're excited to have Jake back.
For a guy who hasn't really been healthy enough to see the field in a year and a half, you understand that he hasn't been there, but is there any pitch count or snap management that you have to utilize on Saturday to prevent him from overworking himself?
Yeah, I think, again, just got to be smart and where's he fit? What's it look like? Obviously that line's starting to play good football, and, I think Jake is a guy that can play multiple positions for us. So, I think just having him back, in the offensive room, back, getting ready to prepare for a football game, I think just even that veteranness is huge for our football team.
What's a guy like Darian Porter, switch positions, play special teams, what's he do for your team and for your locker room? That seems like a guy that just wants to get on the field.
Yeah, and really a guy that, has been, if you look at our success this season, every win he's had a huge play or plays in the game, and, he's battled injury. There's about a 3-week stretch where we really didn't have Darian, and I thought that really hurt us, and, I thought it hurt us on defense, just because he had earned the right to be that third corner and was really playing great football. And then obviously we certainly felt the effects on special teams just without him being in there. So, Darian's one of those young men in our program, and, again, he's always done what's best for the program, but what I was so excited coming into the season is just how great a football he was beginning to play on the defensive side of the football. And I still think his ceiling is extremely high, and I don't think he's anywhere close to what we've seen what he can impact the game for us, especially on the defensive side. So I think him staying healthy right now, really kind of getting back into the groove on the defensive side of the football, equal to special teams, he's a huge asset. And again, I think his career's got a chance to be really, really special, for the rest of the season and beyond.
What did you think of your guys' tackling throughout the game on Saturday?
Yeah, it would, and I'm sure Coach Haycock would have said this. It's got to be better. There were times where I didn't think we tackled great. Now, you also have to tip your hat to who you're tackling, and you're talking about a team that's got elite team speed and really talented players. I thought there were times, 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, some big time plays where we really tackled well, and then there were times we just didn't tackle as good as we need to. So continues to be a focus for us on the defensive side of the football. Need to be better, but again, I think globally there's gaps we all want to fill in, and I think tackling better is certainly something we've got to continue to do a better job of.
What does it say, I guess, either about the youth or just how good your previous defenses have been, where now you're talking about tackling because it's automatic for those veteran guys?
Yeah, and again, I think the word you just used is veteran. I think when you look at the game of who's tackling really well, it's Bo and it's Gary, and those veteran football players are tackling well. Again, I just think for us, it's part of the youth process. It's knowing where your help is on the defensive side of the football. It's knowing the angle that if you are going to miss, where you want to miss at. And so I think just all those things are part of our growing process, especially on that side of the ball right now.
Obviously, you guys haven't had it easy on the road, especially in your most recent matchup. What is the adjustment? How does this team prepare to take on the road again?
Yeah, I mean, winning football games in college football, especially on the road and at any level, is hard. And there's got to be a great sense of maturity. You have to be able to play with great precision and detail. I would say we haven't done a great job of that over the course of the last, I'd say the last year and a half, to be honest with you. And, when you look at when we've been really special here and really good football teams, we've been elite on the road. We've had the ability to play great on the road, and those are things that part of the growth process, I think, of this team. What's it take to win on the road? What's it take to win in hostile environments? This is another really special place to play college football, and so the opportunity to go play in this kind of environment against this type of team, it'll show its maturity. Can we learn and grow and continue to play the level we need to play on the road? So great challenge for us for sure.
Matt, after having the opportunity to look at the film or video, I guess whatever we want to call it, of the game, can you expand a little bit on Rocco's decision-making, particularly on the 4th and 3 that you referenced after the game?
Yeah.
And just his growth in terms of feel for the game?
Yeah, there's a couple plays that he makes in the game or doesn't make as well in the game. There's a couple balls downfield that he throws in, again, elite secondary. That was back-to-back weeks, and we're going to face another really good one this week where you played top elite talent in the secondary. And when you make decisions to push the ball down the field at times, it's got to be either us or nobody at times, and you got to give the receiver a great chance to be successful. And there's a couple even incompletions that I was really proud of him because, man, where that ball's thrown, it's either going to be us or it's going to be nobody. I think, I talked about it after the game. I think that 4th and 3 play and then the 2nd and 3 play on the goal line, both are, the 4th and 3 is it's the 5th option that he gets to. And what's ironic is we actually ran the exact same play against TCU the year before, and he threw an interception. It was a pick 6. Same play. And his ability to go through the progression, the ability for him to, work through it and to get there, I just thought it was huge. And, we talked about it in the team meeting on Sunday. And then obviously then the 2nd and 3 play where it's a little bit of a scramble. And again, you don't always want to throw the ball down there, unless it's a situation that's perfect. But, his ability to kind of extend the play a little bit and certainly throw the perfect ball that if you're going to throw it, back shoulder ball to Easton, it's a really great decision. So I think evolution, growing, and he needs to know that. And I think, that's what, as we continue to grow forward, I think he is really passionate about making the right decisions. Quarterback's not making about every throw. It's not. It's about making the right decisions on every throw, and I think you see the evolution of that really starting to happen for Rocco, and you see him being really intentful and purposeful about that. So, for me to see corrections even from a year ago to game, I think there's some things that were really positive from Rocco's performance.
We saw Malik make a tackle in what was potentially a game-changing situation. We saw him get his first pick.
Yeah.
What's his importance for the defense, now that he's healthy enough to be back out there again?
Yeah, and again, I probably a lot like I talked about Darian. I think Malik is one of those guys that he is an elite talent, and he's a really special football player. And I think for us, that guy's when I talk about A players making A plays, he's an A player for us. And I think you saw his impact Saturday. I mean, his ability to stop the run into the boundary, his ability to be a physical tackler, his length and size and ability to run and cover people into the boundary. We haven't had a whole lot of boundary safeties that have had that skill set, and he certainly has got all those tools. And again, his spring, his fall camp, you would have come out and said, man, this guy's ready to just explode onto the scene. And I really thought he had a great start to the season. It was frustrating for him, gets dinged up. Not having him for a couple weeks, I think certainly wasn't the best thing, but I will say how he handled it. I thought he was a great leader while he wasn't playing. I think even his ability to kind of slow the game down and still get himself better, and then come back and really play a special game last Saturday, that was big, and we'll need him to continue to progress forward for us to be a great team.
Coach, as you look ahead to your guys' big picture goals this season, what's the importance of being able to start stacking some wins and getting a winning streak going, something you haven't been able to accomplish yet this year?
I think the reality is it's everybody in college football, 18 to 22-year-old young men, and their vision of how do I get better one day at a time. And that stuff's all easy to sit up here and say. It's really, really hard to do. But the teams, in 2 months that you're going to be talking about had a great season, or, man, they had the chance to reach their full potential, they're the ones that have the ability to consistently week in and week out get better. And, in this conference, this is, we're not like other conferences. This is every game you better come and show up, because there's really good football teams that are you better play your A game or you're going to get beat. And so I think on top of that, this conference challenges you, and it makes you be your absolute best, because if you're not, you're going to get yourself beat. So I think all that said, it takes great leadership, and it takes great motivation to have the ability to get better every day and every week. And it's easy to say, it's really hard to do it.
You've talked a lot about the growth that you feel like this team has made in a lot of areas this season. Can you explain the type of growth that you feel like they've made in taking it one day at a time, 1 week at a time, and not looking ahead at what's down the road 3 weeks from now?
I think sometimes when you're young, honestly, I think that you're just trying to like breathe, honestly, on a day in, day out basis. I mean, this whole process is hard. Man, you got school, you've got football, you're being asked to play at a consistent level. Man, you got to get up, you got to eat breakfast, you got to still lift weights. Like, that whole process is hard enough. So I think sometimes being young is a benefit, because you're just trying to figure out, how do I get through the day the next day, and I'm not really worried about this game or this stat or this. It's just trying to get better one day at a time. And I think that's one of the things that's been really enjoyable about this group is, there's a sense of urgency. They're so excited to be at practice. They're ready to come to work every day. And I also give a lot of credit to our seniors. We've got just such a great group of senior leadership that, there's no individual aspirations that they're chasing. They're chasing, how do we be the best team, and how do I be the best senior leader? And I think that mix has certainly been enjoyable so far this year for this football team, for sure.
Matt, what's unique about preparing for a new conference foe that you don't have film on how they played you in the past? And secondly, what's made Cincinnati's ground game so good?
Yeah. So it's certainly it's a unique challenge. Even preparing for all 3 phases of the game this week, it's like, it kind of like, it's just different. But first of all, Scott Satterfield, the head coach at Cincinnati, and I are really great friends. We were together at Toledo and probably one of my great mentors. He's had a huge impact on me as just a person, him and his family, and certainly as a football coach. And so I think that aspect of it, you know what you're getting into. And Scott's going to run the football. I mean, you look at his career, one of the best coaches in college football with the consistency of win percentage, how his teams win. They run the ball, they're tough. And, from App State to certainly Louisville to where he's been at, now at certainly Cincinnati. And I just think, number one, they know what their answers are in the running game. They know how to adjust in the game. They're very consistent with what they want to do. He's always had a great quarterback that can be a dual threat. As soon as you stop the tailback, now all of a sudden the running back's a true threat in the game. And so, Scott does an incredible job of putting his players in great position to be successful. So it'll be a great challenge for us defensively. They're going to run the football and they're going to challenge you on every play. And he's always had a really great offensive line, and certainly Cincinnati has that as well.
What's the difference, if there is one, on getting better from a moment like Ohio last month that's a low point versus the last, 3 weeks where the growth is obvious?
Yeah.
Now you're coming off, I don't want to call it a high point, but success. Is there a difference?
Well, I think it's just handling it all, right? I mean, it's I believe it's easier to handle failure than it is to handle success, to be honest with you. I think if you've looked over the course of time, I feel like our kids have always had the ability to respond when it hasn't gone well. I think the neat thing for this team is we're nowhere close to where we want to be or we believe we've got the ability to be. And so even with a win, there's just so much teaching going on right now. There's so much growth that still needs to happen. And I think we've got such good football kids that they understand, hey, yeah, we maybe got the result we wanted, but there are some things fundamentally and from a standard standpoint in all three phases of the game, we just got to be better. And, again, that takes humility. I got to start with your coaching staff and not believe, man, you got the win, all is great, because it's not. And I think equally, it's got to resonate with our kids, and they've got to have the same belief system. But I do think a little bit of handling success through the season, failure through the season, I think all those things have allowed us to really grow and maybe see where we did it good and where we weren't as good as we needed to be at times. So, another great challenge, in my opinion, to grow forward this week for all of us.
Since you are going back home, and since obviously Cincinnati, Ohio is a hotbed, one of the handful of hotbeds for college football
Yeah.
players in the country, will you go out and on Friday nights, you or your staff, and I think I know your thoughts
Yeah.
on this, but
Yeah.
you or your staff go out on Friday nights
We-
and just show your brand at least?
We won't, and I think number one, it's a tough situation just because it's such an early game, and we won't get in there till late, and obviously we got to get up and get ready to go early. But I think just the fact that Cincinnati coming into the league is obviously great for our league because I think twofold. Number one, what a great football program that brings into this conference of tough, competitive, has played at an elite level consistently through the years, no matter what conference they've been in. And number two, it is an area for us that, Midwest recruiting, and another area for us that we can continue to, at least show kids, hey, we're playing at close to you. So I think all those things are positive for us.
You guys ever go out on Friday nights? On the road?
It's rare. It's rare. I feel like there's just such a value for us to be around our kids and, continue the preparation process for us.
Coach, the run game, how much is that has been Eli, the veteran, in there, and to have him as his healthiest these last couple of games, what really has it meant to this run game, Eli just being the veteran in there?
Yeah, I think Eli's been huge for us. I mean, and again, your pride comes in coaching when you see growth. And, Eli, if you asked him, really tough season last year, things were not his best. He would tell you, I go back to that Kansas game a year ago. I don't know what that's game like 4 or 5. And, he kind of gets an opportunity, doesn't play his best game. And then it's a little bit of it wasn't good for a couple weeks. And, he really responded about the second to last week of the season. I think it's a Texas Tech game. And, I think in our world today, it's easy for kids to not get what you want, have not success, get in the transfer portal, go find a new home, and go do it somewhere else. And for that young man to come back, to say, man, I'm going to do everything in my power to be my best. And that's really what he did. had an incredible spring, had an incredible summer, physically totally changed where he was, mentally took a huge step forward. And to watch him now get the fruits of that labor, that's the great reward of it. And, I think for our kids to see that, for the young men to see kind of where he was a year ago to where he is now, I think that's huge. And honestly, if we're going to continue to sustain success in this program, we got to win with Eli Sanders. We got to win with young men growing through hard things. And so we're really proud of Eli. I know I am as the head football coach. I know our staff is, and I do think he's been a huge spark for us and our football team for sure, especially in that running back room that's so young.
Matt, just what's allowed the defense to kind of have a nose for the football as far as interceptions are concerned? You're second in the Big 12 in picks right now.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad last Saturday happened, because we were kind of milling around a little bit in that area, but obviously Saturday helped us a bunch. But I think the tribute there has certainly got to be to that secondary. I mean, you got a lot of guys, veteran, Jeremiah's played really good football this season for us. Bo is, Bo is the anchor of our football team. I mean, the play he makes on Saturday night down here where he wins the 50-50 ball, we may not win that game if that play doesn't get made. And I mean, he literally, demands us win the game. And so, and you talk about what TJ's meant to us, and you certainly talk about Malik. And, I just think that secondary, they're veteran players. They've been there. They've done that. And for those guys to come up in those huge moments as this young team starts to just continue to grow underneath them, I think it's huge. And those guys have been awesome. I mean, TJ's interception at home against Okie State to finish the game. Those guys have made the plays in the moment to help us win the football games, and that's what you need. That's team football. The veterans have to show the young guys what it looks like and win in those moments, and we're really fortunate because those guys have done a great job for us. All right, guys. Thank you.